What's up, guys? Hey, this is Kyle with Siouxland Marketing, and today I want to show you how to use the image slider on the Duda website builder platform. Let's dive into it. What's up, guys? This is Kyle with SiouxlandMarketing.com, and I want to show you in this video on how to add an image slider to your website. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, this is just a sample website I developed here, or a template I'm using. So we're going to we're going to go over to widgets, and we're going to go down to image slider. We're going to insert a new row. Now it's going to pop up, okay, what images would we like to use? Now we can add our own images, or we can use stock images. So we can go to plus image here. And we've got all the different images from this site, so we can go to select. We want to use these images here, and we're going to click done. Okay, so now we can also delete out the stock images by using that. Or if we want to completely revamp the slider, we can go to delete all images, and now it'll clear the whole thing out. Now we can go to plus image, and we can add in additional images from our image library here, and we're going to click done. So now we have all these images in a slider going across here. Now we have the optionality to customize this slider by saying, okay, do we want a title on each slide? Do we want a button on each slide? What do we want that button to do when we hover over our mouse over it? So we can click back on there and we can go into design. Right? Do we want there to be pieces on there like that? Let's go over to content. Let's click on a specific image, and if we don't want a title on our slide, we can hide that. We can hide the caption, and we can hide the button just like that. We got to go through each image like that to hide those different things from popping up, but it makes it super simple because we can easily go in and just click the no see or the eye icon here. And for SEO purposes, you can add alt text to enhance what Google understands your website to be like. So if you're wanting to rank in Google, what you might want to put in here is based on each image. Like this is an image of a bathroom. So here we may put in bathroom remodel. And this is one of our portfolio. So we're going to just stick it in like that. Okay. So Google will get that text out of there. So here it says alt text enables search engines to recognize image content. So use text that clearly describes the image. So, and you can make this go on for a while if you want, but it's better to have something there than nothing if you're trying to if your site is more of a lead gen site than it is a portfolio site or a branding website. Alright, so now we have no titles, no call to actions, no captions on any of these images. Now, one of the things we might want to do is make this thing a little bit wider. And seeing as it's fairly narrow and doesn't really give us the full picture. So we do have one image there that I missed. Like this one here. So we can go down here and nail that down. Okay. There we go. Alright, so we can make this wider by going into design, and we can go into frame, and we can say, okay, what is going to be the height of our frame here? We can make that wider to include more, to show more of the images off at this point. Alright, so there's a lot of different things that we can do when it comes to transitions. So that's when we move from slide to slide. But when we go from to design, we can look at transitions. Do we want it to fade out? Do we want it to slide out? I like the fade because it's a little gentler on the eyes. And do we want these images to play through automatically? Or do we want everybody to have to manually go through to see each image? Alright, I like having the autoplay on because then people start to see a little bit more. You don't have to do a little bit. Don't do as much. And then slideshow speed. You can choose to speed it up. So, or basically, you could, this is the duration of seconds, or the number of seconds that each slide will be displayed. So, if we want to make things quick, we can make it go through the slideshow fairly quickly. If we want to spend a few seconds on each slide so people can really get a good view of it, I like to put something in between about 5 to 10 seconds per slide, somewhere in there, especially if we want people to really appreciate the work. And then we can have the option to pause on hover. So it's moving through, but then we can say, okay, well, let's stop it here. And since we're hovering over it, it's not going to go anywhere. Like I can wait a few more seconds, like when it would have moved on to the next one, but since I'm hovering over it, it stops. So content animation, do we want the image to fade in from the bottom? Do we want it to rotate in when it transitions? What do we want that transition to look like? I like to have the fade come in, but that's just me. So we already went over the frame. This is the width of the frame. We can make it narrower or we can make it wider. I like to have it all as wide as it can go, and then I like to have the height showing off a lot of the work so my photos don't have to be extremely panoramic or narrow in height. I don't want to display the full image because I want each image to fit in this rectangular box. My overlay color, we can choose to show, you can think of this like a filter. So you can filter the tops of your images here so the images aren't coming out as brightly. Or you can have no filter at all. And the way that you can do that is you can have a certain amount of opacity between. So if you have 100% opacity, you're not going to be able to see anything through it. But if you have a little bit, you can darken the image a little bit, or you could keep it at its original brilliance. Alright, with arrows, the arrows we're talking about are the arrows on the sides of the screen. So inside here you've got arrows here and arrows here. So do we want to show the image arrows all the time, never, or on hover? I like to do them on hover. Then what kind of style do we want? We can do thin arrows like this, or we can do double arrows like this, or, well, there's double arrows there, or we can go thick arrows like this. I like the thick arrows, honestly. And then what color do we want those arrows to be? You can choose to make them really stand out by making them 100% opacity that way, or you can make them a little bit more just behind the scenes kind of thing. I like to keep them relatively behind the scenes. And then we can make those arrows bigger or smaller depending on based on the arrow size. So I'll give it about 23, 31. Go about halfway here. It's all up to you. Alright, so animation. When do we want the slideshow to begin? We want it to when they enter the page. And really what we can do is, where do we want this to start from? I like to have none on here. I think that too much animation goes too far here, where we just talk about none, so then it's just going to stay in the middle. Versus you can have the animation jump in, like fade in from bottom, so it comes up like that. Or we can go in, we can bounce in. I don't know. I think some of that just detracts from the photos themselves. So, but that's just my opinion. So I like to go none. And spacing. The spacing is, will help push the slider one way or the other because we can only change the external piece of it. So like if we want to push this slider over towards the right a little bit, we can do that via the spacing. So we could go to 50px here just so you can see the difference. We've moved it over to the right. If I want to show it even more, I can go to 150. But for the most part, it's going to, at all zeros, the slider will be centered inside the page. So that's what an image slider is when you're using a Duda website builder to build out your page.